I love that. I love you all. I missed y'all last week. I'm glad y'all had a good time. My boy John carried the whole show. Of course. He don't believe that he did, but he did.
But you were there too, so of course.
I had very little input. Sometimes I be wanting to just say, "Oh, this is Dion's show, or King of Lord. This is Skywalker show. This is Sabah Diamond show." But anyway, we got a couple people in the room right now, which is fun. I want to thank everyone for coming in tonight on tonight's live. This is things that we don't want to talk about, brought to you by God Level Comments. Oh, Lord, I'm gonna let y'all answer that. Peace, J Love. My name is God Level. I am a mother. I am a nurse. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a podcaster. With that being said, John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Name is John Nicholson, aka John Skywalker, the Sly Talker, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, and student of psychology, and father. That music that you hear in the background is from my what is that? My first album. From my first album, Dimensions. Look up John Skywalker. Look up John Skywalker. Look up John Skywalker on your music streaming device. All my projects will be there. Plug in if you like positive conscious hip hop. Salute.
Salute. King Newborn, you want to go ahead and represent yourself? He can't hear. What's going on? Lord have mercy. All right. Diamond, you want to go ahead and represent yourself while King Newborn figures out his technical difficulties over there?
Absolutely, absolutely. Greetings, Itiam Hitep. Greet you in peace. This is Sabah Diamen, Sabah of African spiritual science, master level fitness trainer, nutritional scientist, all things health, all things human body, all things spiritual ascension. This is what I deal in. So just look me up on Facebook. It's Diamen Demir, and we'll see you there. If you got any questions, send me a DM. Peace.
All right. Let's go back and more.
Peace. It's King Newborn. Want to say hello, peace, and blessings to each and every one on the panel and each and everybody that's tuning in tonight. I know tonight will be a very, very, very beautiful show, but please follow me on all social media platforms at Newborn Everything. And as always, I am.
All right. Tonight's topic is shown down below is how childhood trauma affects communication as an adult. Feel free to call in. The number you see is being posted down on the ticker. Call in and share your thoughts, 832-318-6966. And we're going to go ahead and start this off. Dion, you want to kick this off? You just never know who I'm going to call on.
Woo! Did you say Diamond or Dion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think she said. Oh, okay.
King,
I thought she said that.
I'm not a blood fan. My apologies.
I said Diamond. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pass this to John because John hit on this pretty good. Yeah. John hit on this pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, you really don't know how hard, how to come in with this, how childhood trauma affects communication as an adult. I would have to say that it does. I was telling John before you chimed in to use me as an example because I've been through a lot of trauma coming up as a child, and I have had roadblocks in certain areas of my life. Especially when dealing with the opposite sex. You know, we've always go back and talk about how I've always challenged my brother, you know, due to the childhood trauma that I have experienced. I had a problem with authority figure. And my brother is a piece of Dre. Is a very smart, intelligent man. I love him dearly. but it was just hard for me to take his advice, even though I've listened to everything that he has said and I'm able to regurgitate that back to him. But yeah, it does affect you as an adult, either in your workplace, with your relationships, your siblings, your personal relationships has been truly affected. I think I've already said that, had I knew what was going on with me back when I was married, I would probably still be married to my husband. I do not give him all the blame. Um, the childhood trauma really does affect your mental state. So mental illness does play a part in all of that. Woof. And the list goes on and on. Anybody want to pick up on that?
Uh,
Well, since you pointed me, oh, my fault, John.
oh no,
Give me 2 minutes,
you
John.
got
You
it.
have
Let me
No, go
sit
ahead.
back and observe.
Please feel free to ask me questions because, again, we were just talking about this backstage. Feel free to use me as an example because I've been through it all. Go ahead.
When we're talking about
Um,
childhood trauma, and I'm glad we clarified this when we did our pre-gaming.
Mhm.
Um, I was focusing on childhood sexual trauma, but really we're just talking about trauma
Period.
as an umbrella term, right? And it refers to any significantly distressing experiences that you may have been exposed to as a child. It could have been a car accident, it could have been a natural disaster, school shooting, church shooting, community gang violence, physical violence, loss of a loved one. Um, Being abandoned, homelessness, foster care, divorce, parental divorce, just any event where you felt scared, helpless, horrified, and overwhelmed, or a combination of those, right? So we're really talking about intense physical and psychological stress reactions. Um, it could be a single event. It can be multiple events. There's literature that even supports that. You having one or two events as a child, it compounds over time. You start attracting more traumatic events over the course of your lifetime. Um, Trauma affects us on all levels. It can cause damage to the brain. Um, uh, Pushes us to a state of hypervigilance. Vigilance means to be cautious of possible danger. And so the hyper means the excess. What's up, God level?
Overthinking.
That could
Overthinking.
be a symptom. Yeah, it could be. Not conventionally, but intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts. Yes.
Overthinking with the people in your life. I have a hard time allowing for people to get close to me because then I start to get a little fearful um, of being. I was fearful, paranoid. I'm a little bit, prior to that there was an agenda that wasn't at my best interest. It wasn't in my best interest. So yeah, it could cause you to think a whole host of things. So yeah, go ahead. Just wanted
Yeah,
to
that's
clarify
fair.
that.
That's fair. Um, and then there's different types of trauma in terms of like categories. You have acute trauma, which is basically a single event, single incident, an accident, natural disaster, an act of violence. Then there's chronic trauma, and that's repeated and prolonged. And often it's like domestic violence, domestic abuse, right? Because it's recurrent. Complex trauma can be different types of traumatic events. It can be multiple ones. Sometimes they're social in nature, and sometimes they're a combination of environmental and social experiences. And then there's historical trauma, and we're talking like major catastrophic events, Hurricane Katrina, slavery, domestic terrorism, forced migration, um, colonization. So we can experience one, we can experience a whole bunch of these, right? The last statistic that I came across 60% of men experience at least one trauma in their life compared to 50% with women. But ultimately, it's 70% of adults experience at least one traumatic event in their lifetime. And out of that 70%, 20% are likely to develop PTSD.
Mm.
Um, so with this being able to occur, trauma happening at any stage of your life, we're going to really focus just on childhood, just for the sake of discussion. Um, the question that we had is, how does trauma impact your communication styles into adulthood, or your ability to communicate? And we understand that trauma impacts the brain, and therefore it's going to, by virtue of that, affect how you relate to other people. How are you going to connect with other people? How are you going to communicate with other people? Some of us develop our communication styles just solely off of our relationships with people in our circle. We adopt a lot of this from our parents. I want to talk about 4 communication styles that are well known, well documented. We talk about passive communication style, and that's when we choose to hold on to things and we choose not to express ourselves. Um, we might be motivated to be nice to everyone. We may fear rejection. Um, it's we might even develop this belief that people's needs and their emotions are more important than our own, right? So that becomes a scope or perspective in which we communicate. It's very indirect, it's very self-denying, it's very apologetic. Um, you don't make any eye contact, poor posture, difficulty saying no. That's passive. Okay. Then there's a passive aggressive, and that's where we avoid taking direct responsibility for what we say and how we feel and what we do. And we try to find alternative ways to get what we want instead of confronting the issue um, at hand with honesty and acceptance. And that's very key right there. So when we're passive aggressive, we tend to be emotionally dishonest. Um, and we'll even enhance ourselves at the expense of others. It's passive aggression. There's a lot of sarcasm in passive aggression. Our words don't align with our actions. Our facial expressions don't align with our actions and our words, right? So it's basically having this difficulty with acknowledging our emotions and putting it out there. Then there's aggression,
Mhm.
aggressive communication style, blaming people, controlling people, manipulating. You're very direct. You're criticizing. You intimidate other people. Poor listening skills. You
Mm.
interrupt them frequently. Finger pointing. Talk over people. And then there's assertive. And assertive people are they have the ability to express their feelings, their opinions, their attitudes, their rights, while also respecting the feelings and attitudes and opinions of others, right? And this is about um, having the ability to create boundaries and set them and enforce them. And these are healthy boundaries, mind you, healthy boundaries, right? To be a bit more democratic, act with fairness, respect, equity, empathy, um, using a lot of I statements, eye contact, right? So, based off of these categories, you can kind of figure out where you're at, right? You're like, oh, okay, I'm more assertive, and it's not always strict. By the way, it's not. Sometimes these communication styles are just very stable. They're very static, right? And so in every domain, you tend to be assertive. But then sometimes we shift. We shift. There might be moments where we're assertive. There might be social situations where we're more aggressive than others. And then there's other social situations where we exude the other two, right?
Yeah.
So just by, me listing that off, you kind of figure out, all right, this is how I communicate.
Mhm.
But do I have any trauma that influences me being aggressive? Do I have any childhood trauma that influences me being passive or passive aggressive? You can learn a communication style. In fact, that you have to, right? But the question is, did you learn your communication style as or adopt a communication style as a result of trauma? Right? What is that connection? You know, trauma could have enacted the onset of any of these communication styles as a means for you to try to adapt for future social interactions. I became aggressive after I was aggressed upon. You know, so I learned, and this is part of your story. This is the story you've told yourself. I've learned that I need to dominate the conversation to keep them from making me feel helpless like I did back then. You know, that becomes the story in which you tell people that's why you communicate the way that you do. Dang, John, you know, you always just shut down, man. Why do you always shut down? And it might be something like, you know, when I was a kid, um, you know, I've been yelled at so much. I figured if I would just be nice to other people and put their needs before mine, then they wouldn't hurt me. And so that's part of my story as I deal with trauma in terms of communicating.
Mm. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just sitting back listening. I'm assertive at work.
See?
At work, I'm in a management position, so I'm assertive at work. When it comes to my personal relationships, I can bounce between passive aggressive and being aggressive. This is do all that I can, the inability to say no, and people pleasing, try to make sure that they're happy, give them what they want, and and then when that energy is not reciprocated, I'm aggressive, or I'm just aggressive with someone that I really don't want to be bothered with. So yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm just having flashbacks of certain scenarios that I've had in my life, even with my brother, being aggressive with him and not understanding that he's not here to hurt me. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
So are you saying that it's more of a fear response then?
Yeah. I didn't grow up with the relationship or seeing a relationship that was healthy. My mother and my stepfather fought like cats and dogs. Fighting was the norm. It was fighting, then love, then fighting, then love. It always bounced between those two, and you always knew what it was from the moment you walked through the door. So we didn't get a healthy example of a relationship coming up. There was a lot of abuse. He would abuse her, then in turn she would abuse us. So, you had to look outside of the home to see what healthy was. And I'm still looking. Still looking. I'm still looking. Go ahead.
I'm gonna list a question here. Oh man, and it didn't. Hold on. I want to ask a question regarding trust, because as you were talking, it just kind of popped up.
I want to ask eye level. What are you still looking? What are you still looking for?
An example of what a healthy relationship looks like. I've never seen one.
Well, the first, best, purest, truest example of a healthy relationship is the one that you can have with yourself.
I knew you was getting ready to say that. That's why I started pointing towards me. I knew you was getting ready to say that. I knew you was getting ready to say that. So yeah, you are absolutely correct.
It's like brother Diamond said, everything starts with self. Everything. Everything starts with self.
You know, but that's something before he said it, that was something that you used to always tell me as well. Everything always comes back to self. So I remember the things that you used to say to me, but like you said again, knowledge is nothing without application.
Ooh.
So I be listening. I be listening.
Yeah. You applying?
Huh?
You applying?
Yes.
Oh,
Slowly but
okay.
surely. Slowly but surely, I'm applying. Don't put me out there too bad. But go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah,
Deanna, huh?
communicating based on trust, right?
Okay.
Communicating when you've been hurt, when you've been hurt, you're seeking ways to prevent that hurt again, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you're young and you're trying to figure out how to cope and how to adapt, and you're not asking for any help, any wisdom from the elders, your parents. You're just trying to figure it out on your own. We tend to develop as children. We tend to develop poor coping strategies, poor communication skills, right? So communicating with others becomes difficult um, for trauma survivors when um, they're always acting within that self-interest of perseverance. I'm trying to keep myself from being hurt again, and um, even through that lens of pain, it can be very difficult to process, to understand, to look beyond the wall of your own hurt. And so you internalize negatively, of course. You internalize or you personalize the comments, the behaviors of other people. And you even, of course, develop this hyper awareness, hyper vigilance of your surroundings, and you tend to lose uh, focus sometimes, and even dissociate yourself from the present, um, operating from the past. You think that the past is still alive in this instance. Um, so concentration is pretty much diminished, right?
Hmm.
And this is also another reason why it's difficult for us to receive what's coming in. So we have a filter, right? um we tend to avoid discussing how we feel as trauma survivors. We tend to avoid that because we understand whatever that is to be pain. So by internally avoiding the pain, there's nothing on the outside that can remind us of that pain, because then what's going to happen? Environment sets it off, alarm, pain is right there, and it comes out. It's kind of like a monster, right? Comes back up, and it's like, oh no, now I got to talk about this. I got to make this visible, and I don't want to do that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to regulate myself and try to suppress this pain, suppress or manipulate the conversation so I don't have to talk about this thing right here. Let alone and it's affecting the way that I talk. It's affecting what I can talk about and how I can talk about it, right? Um, there's several reasons why we do that, of course. Some of us don't share out of fear of not being believed. Um, Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of being rejected. Um, so that becomes a thing that silences us, especially if you have memories of that. If you have, yep, this is, oh, well, New, King New World was saying this is a safe space. I was going to say, yeah, it's that idea of this is not a safe space. This is not a safe space for me to bring this issue up. And so for a lot of children who develop into adults, they learn without proof of concept, they learn that whenever it's time for them to talk about something very difficult, they learn that there's never a safe space for them to confront or resolve those feelings. And so anytime something comes up, shut down, right? I feel it welling up inside of me, and the thought in my prefrontal cortex, the thought right there is like, nah, this is not it. Push it back down. This is not it. We cannot bring this out right now. This is not the situation for that. And it may not be true. That's not even like evidence. It's just a thought. You develop that, and it becomes a pattern also. So this becomes the way that you just do things. It's maladaptive. It's not adaptive. It's maladaptive. It's not a good coping behavior, right? Normal human beings, healthy human beings, healthy human beings are going to allow that to come up, but it's going to come up in a way that is controlled and intentional. It's not just going to come out full force, brute force to just hurt this person, right? So there's the question of, do they feel safe to talk about their feelings around you? Have you given them reasons as friends, as your family, as friends, family, right? Even at work, Hey, you all right, John? You okay, man? I don't know, man. You look really on edge today. And in my mind, I'm like, well, this is work. I don't feel safe enough to talk about this here. It's work. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
Then it's your family. Hey, Dad, you okay? I mean, I don't feel safe saying this to my son. I don't feel safe saying this to Grandma. I don't feel safe. That's the thought. All right. So something that really does need to be disclosed. And again, this is just your communication style.
Yeah.
You don't trust them, but maybe there's no evidence for you to not trust them. They haven't necessarily given you evidence, but you just perceive it that way.
I want to say something. Growing up in a household and holding all of that in, because you are surrounded by people you don't trust to even talk to tell them exactly what's going on. You don't trust them. And that spills over into your adult life. You don't trust certain people or certain situations, or you overthink, or you paranoid, or whatever the case may be. Um, Now I'm to the point where I have to get it out. My story, what I've been through, may help someone else. I have to get it out. Um, Going through those things as a child made me more observant to my children coming when I was raising them and looking for certain signs that maybe something is not right. It does do that for you. But having that trust is something that should have been built, created when you was in the home. It's hard to create it now as an adult.
Mm.
I will say that. And this is my learning space. This is not just a safe space. This is my learning space with all of you gentlemen. And I tell you that all the time when it comes to men. Have trust issues, but I'm learning to trust the men that I have in my life, starting with you all. I just wanted to put that out there.
I want to ask you a question too.
Go ahead.
Because I'm just sitting here observing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking at the comments that our viewers are doing, and also what we're saying here, and you saying getting your story out, it may help somebody.
Yeah.
What I like to know is, because I know they can only be done if you have come up with a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, just regurgitating the problem.
Ooh.
Is
No.
Well, I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but I want you to state that solution, because right here is where you begin to help people.
Oh yeah, you have to get some help. You have to seek help. Because when you go through something like a child, like sexual trauma, It is documented that girls or boys walk away with at least one or two mental illnesses, depending on the traumatic event itself, on how bad it was. And you're carrying that with you. You have to sit down and talk to someone. Talking to me is okay. That's getting you comfortable with sitting down and talking to someone else about it, who's a professional that can be able to help you. I I'm just hey, just that first person that you can say, hey, this is what happened to me. Okay.
So is that what you've done? You
Yes.
said, okay,
Oh yes.
all right.
Oh yes. And you have to get help for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Some people are not ready. Um, and that's okay. Do not judge them. Just allow them to move at their own pace. So yeah.
One thing I want us to remember is this, that when we call what we call trauma, childhood trauma, whether it's a sexual event experience or uh, the experience of, like I think John and I talked about, we both experienced a great deal of homelessness when we were children. That's a traumatic experience, and it does set certain expectations or certain conditions within your thinking and your expression.
Mm.
Uh,
Homelessness.
Homelessness, of
Yeah.
course,
Been
yeah.
there
For a
too.
child, especially.
Yes.
Listen,
We lived in a shelter.
oh,
Yes.
well, you at least you made the shelter. We was in a
Yeah.
condemned house.
Oh.
I'm talking about where the house was boarded up and we snuck in as a family, and no water, no lights, and that's what we had
Mm.
to do. We were squatting in a condemned house,
Okay.
and I remember um, swiping bologna and some of that hard cheese from the convenience store around the corner. Doing what we got to do to survive, and what that meant for me, even as a young child. And people have to realize, when you see a young child who resumes wetting the bed and things like that, that's a stress response in that child. That's a stress, and that's what happened to me. I'm up here giving all that away. So
Okay.
so I started, even at that time I was in school age, and I began even wetting the bed again. It wasn't in bed though, it was on the floor. Um, but but I remember the at one point I did become extremely passive, because of this. I was literally the stinky kid in school, at this time, because I didn't have a means for proper hygiene and things like that. That was traumatic. But also in my childhood, I also experienced some um, sexual molestation. But my response to it as a young boy was probably different than yours as a young girl. Because even as a young boy, it wasn't traumatizing for me. It was, even though this was with an older woman who stepped to me and did things, and but at the same time, I kind of felt privileged because it was an older woman, and but that also set some conditions, or some thoughts in my head, that even as I grew up, going into middle school and things like that, there was no boundaries, and like kissing cousins and having little stuff like that going on when the parents weren't looking. And I was thinking like it happened to me. So, and it's a good thing I got to understanding of that before I got too old. So I never molested a child or nothing like that. But there are some men who end up molesting children because they felt like it was something that happened to them. So they felt like they have no quorums with doing that to little children too. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? And
Right.
so these are some of the conditions, and all we're talking about here in this response, in this lack of, or of this change in communications, how it influences the way you communicate. We're talking about conditions that are set, because of these particular incidents. Now, these conditions are still up to us to transcend. It is not something, we don't rally around and get with like minds and say, I got this condition, so do I. All right, let's go have lunch. It is something that we are to transcend these conditions. We're supposed to realize, and it's in that transcendence that we develop certain divine gifts, that we grow from these things. So, and those conditions are set in childhood because of our level of receptivity at that point. We're wide open. Everything is easier to learn when we're children. As I had mentioned before, this language and things like that. Whatever your dominant language is, you didn't go to school for that, and yet you were speaking that fluently by the time you were 2 and 3 years old,
Yeah.
like a pro, and had not learned anything about it. You know, and so um, these are the things that we have to realize, that what we're talking about is not things that are happening to us, but things that are happening through us. What opportunities are being presented because these things are happening? And unfortunately, part of our growth, things like this do happen. Things like that do. And like I say, it's not always a sexual experience. Sometimes it's which the way you came up. We came up so poor. I stayed in every form of projects there was in Fort Worth, Texas. All of it. That's all my life. I was just in the projects, and then, but that also set a mindset that I know has a lot to do with the way I view prosperity, these days. Has a lot to do with that. The way I view money, the way I view educational opportunities and things, that has a lot to do with that today. I have a very healthy um, frame of mind when it comes to that, but it wasn't, well, not at first. Even as I stepped into my young adulthood, there was a bunch of stagnation. There was a bunch of not understanding some things, and I wish somebody had educated me, but I had to find out the hard way. Life had to wake me up, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is what we're talking about. And also on top of that, looking at some of the responses we're getting, especially from our beautiful viewer, J Love. And she's speaking about uh basically holding your own, like ignoring a lot of this. But also there were some things that she was saying, we must not change because of how, in spite of how people treat us. We must understand why we need to become what we need to become, not in response to other people. Because the thing about it is that that sets a whole nother condition. You're coming from one condition to another. Okay. So yes, this is true as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So we
Don't
got.
ask, don't tell syndrome. What goes on in this house stays in this house.
Mm-hmm,
We did a show on that and how it was detrimental to the child that was growing up in an abusive house,
mm-hmm,
that was being either mentally, emotionally, or sexually abused. When you tell them what goes on in this house stays in this house, you're cutting off their voice.
mm-hmm,
Oh my God! And you're destroying their trust. They can't. You telling them not to say anything, whatever
mm-hmm,
it is, so they
mm-hmm.
can't even trust you to come to you and to tell you what's going on.
That's right.
And in some certain circles or instance, I am gonna say circles, some instance, the adults knew
Of course they did. But
and still allowed
what do
for it
they
to
how do they
happen.
treat the children? You
It
know,
they
I'm dealing
Yeah,
with a couple of clients where they actually voiced what was going on with them, and that they were vilified. Because, oh, you're disrupting the flow and the enjoyment of this family by bringing this, and nobody ever really stepped in to take them serious.
right.
Or they tried to silence them instead of, and now these people have such, like, real trauma and real problems in getting along in life as adults because of it.
I don't know who this Facebook user is, but I love you for that comment. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we are built on silence.
Mm-hmm.
Our families are built on silence. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, families ain't just built on silence; they're built on
I ain't
trying
gonna
to
say
hold a
all.
certain status, trying to hold a certain status. The reason why I
Right.
say a certain status, no one wants to defame the name of the family name. No one wants to defame that. No one wants to say, the newborns or liars and thieves, and,
Mm-hmm.
or the God levels of the universe. They man, they backstab him. You know what I'm saying? Nobody
Right.
wants that
Right.
on your name. So when a child, not just raise their hands, the child gets fed up as well as an adult. But when a child gets fed up and they go to speak, they feel like, man, I'm supposed to talk to an adult. When I go to talk to an adult looking at me like, man, go ahead on, go get you a little juice or something, sit down somewhere. I know the family Joneses don't move like that, or the Smiths don't move like that, or they don't. I don't know, man. It's a real delicate subject.
It really is.
But to truly understand that it's your childhood, it's not your adulthood, it's your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you gotta again search within and ask yourself, do I continue to allow this to manipulate my decision choices and executions of today? And that could be hard. I ain't saying everybody has the mindset to break
Mm-hmm.
away or decipher, but we claim to be some real fierce adults. We charge up a lot of other things that has nothing to do with our inner growth, but we'll charge up a lot
Right.
of things that have to do with our external demise before anything.
That's
You
right.
know,
Liars.
I said, what do you
Mm-hmm.
say?
Oh,
Oh, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
I say that because, like I say, for me, I'm just at a stage where I'm of service now. Like brother Diamond pointed out, Master Skywalker as well, how beautiful it is to be at this stage right now. But this is not something that I picked up in a book. This is something that I arrived at by certain things in my life helped me understand that this was given to me. This opportunity, this chance to actually walk this earth, it was given to me. Since it was
Mm-hmm.
given to me, I'm supposed to be of service. I'm supposed to be of service. I'm supposed to give back the true one blessing that can't nobody else give me that's walking this earth besides what my parents gave me. And that's the opportunity to have a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
oh my
So
God.
even with some of those traumas that we've had, those traumas help us develop who we are in today's time.
Mm-hmm.
You either gonna go left or you're gonna go right. And as
That
an
is true.
adult, that's a decision. But then you got to start holding yourself accountable thereafter, because once you become knowledgeable of the trauma, what you do now, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek help. I'm not saying to seek help, but I'm saying you have to do something. You have to do something
Okay.
about that. Otherwise, generational traumas will be created through you. It's
Mm-hmm.
just passing
Mm.
it down. So I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying for me, even with dealing with God level, which I truly love and I appreciate you. You helped me see different viewpoints about myself where I felt the need to polish up on, um,
Really.
which is one of the things that you never truly know how powerful you are if you until you hear something said over and over and over. And one of the things that is said about me is my demeanor. Like I come off maybe sometimes cocky or arrogant or beyond approach, and the way I speak is harsh or
Who said?
feelingless. Well, I ain't saying you said all that. I'm saying these are things that's
Nah.
been told to me over time.
Right.
And that's something that I tend to try, not tend, I have changed to where that it's possible to be approached. It's possible to engage in conversation. It's possible for someone or even a child that don't have a voice or somebody to turn to can turn to me and say, "Hey, I need help." Let's build from that particular point. You know, that's
Right.
my little spiel for right now. I mean, I have some other things I want to say, but I'll wait till we unfold a little bit more. We're only 45 minutes in, so I've been waiting on John over there,
I've never gotten
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I've never gotten that from you. When I first met you, I thought you were like literally the smartest man I have ever come in contact with. I'm not trying to, you know, blow your head up like
Yeah,
that, but
gaslight. Yeah.
I'm so serious when I say this, you know. So everyone that I deal with, I I have to see some of you in them.
Oh, really? That's deep.
If
New
I can have
information
a
to me.
conversation with a gentleman and he can remind me of something that you have said to me, or the knowledge that you hold, and we he has to. I'm sorry, John, smartest man. Diamond, as you can see, I am surrounded by very smart and intelligent men, and you kick that off, brother.
Oh,
That
that's peace. That's
you
peace. That's
started that.
peace.
And so, in how old was I when I met you? In my 30s. And to say you were
That's
the
peace.
smartest man I have ever come in contact with it.
That's deep. Don't make me cry.
I'm I'm not. I'm so serious. Did you not pay attention how I used to sit in the barbershop and just
Yeah,
watch
and
you and just
listen. Yeah,
and
soak it all
listen?
up.
What?
Yeah.
I used to get there early just so I can just do like this.
I
I'm
remember. I
so
remember.
serious. So yeah.
But you got even at those times, and I just want to be clear because I don't want nobody to think that I think I know everything or anything like that. That was during the
Hmm.
times that I was making my own transition to clean
Hmm.
myself up, to be
Yes.
more of an example
Yes.
of what to do and how to be I'm gonna say it just like this, a melanated man in today's society. Sometimes you have to stand in a fire, to help people understand I'm willing to go through this in order to come out clean on the other side. Um, so it was a lot of things that I was encountering, a lot of elders during that time that dropped a lot of jewels on me. And the part that was the scariest was the fact that I would constantly hear, now that you know, what do you do from this point moving forward? And that
Right.
was that was heavy. So it was like I can't come out the same way I came in. I got to show some type of change, rehabilitation, something, and that used to just haunt me every time when I got into it with somebody, as far as like word exchanger, and I'd be like, well, no matter how this conversation go, please understand that just as well as you're trying to teach me something that you feel I don't know, please be receptive to receiving something that you may not know. So you will become a student at some point in the conversation, which is another level of communication, as John so eloquently put it. And that's very, very, very important. Yes, I'm sorry, Master John. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I love it.
you know,
Yeah.
it was. I don't know. It was. I didn't think that you was really looking at me like that at that particular time because I was dealing with
Because I
myself.
was so aggressive and I was always very challenging. I didn't say a word. I was,
For sure.
and then I had other external things going on that was, and I, so looking back, I'm being honest when I say this. If I don't hear you and them, is this is if I don't hear John and them, is just if I don't hear Diamond and them, it's just
Right. And it just
the
keep on building
standard.
from there. Yeah.
The standard. You all are the standard. I love it. Very smart.
Wait till the day when the standard is you.
Mm. What you think about
This
that?
is another, yeah. This is another reason why God level, love you, sis. Uh, I'm at the place where I done went from understanding peace to now I'm of service because for everything that I thought outwardly were good practices for me to implement within myself. In order for me to implement myself, I had to start practicing them. So that's why you hear me say all the time now, I'm on service. And again, the great elder on the panel, Diamond, I appreciate that because you kind of helped me see that. Skywalker, he laid the pathway through his daily routines and acts of helping a lot of people that may be unbeknownst to anybody that might be watching this. And Master Skywalker, you kind of remember the conversation when I bust out and I was like, bro, I just want to say thank you and I commend you for the great work that you put in that nobody really acknowledges, because you help a lot of people and you continue to show examples of being of service and trying to constantly build yourself to where you could be an example as you're sharing information, as you're teaching, as you being a life coach, as you being a trainer. And those are very, 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 very prominent positions for anybody to look up to. You understand what I'm saying? That's heavy, my brother. So again, salute to you, as you always say. And it's just, like I say, it's an honor to be on this panel. Again, God level, thank you for having me on here. It came as a shocker, but when you asked me, I couldn't do nothing.
How?
I mean, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. But what reason why I'm saying is because look what you have done. I'm steady saying search inwardly. When you search inwardly, you're going to see all that you have created. It's right here on this panel. This is all you. We spoke about this before.
We did, and I try not to look at that because I just
you can't avoid reflection.
Consistent. You
can't avoid reflection. This is a direct reflection of you. You can't avoid it. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. Every time you open your eyes, you can constantly see more and more of growth and development of God level. So the more you peel back a layer to unfold, to deal with, to restructure, to unlearn, to learn, you're going to keep on seeing outwardly how much you've changed.
Okay. You did this on purpose. You did this on purpose. Dang. Okay. Let's continue.
J Love said, when overwhelmed with emotions, do you shut down or do you speak up, and why? Well, I'm gonna answer this real quick and leave that open. But for me, at one point, when I get overwhelmed with emotions, I find a target. This is what I used to do. I find a target, and I do more to speak up about it. I'm trying to annihilate it because I don't like dealing with my emotions. But now, oh man, we can deal with anything. We can confront anything. We can speak on whatever. Because even within it, even if you're saying that there's from your perspective, a flaw within my character.
This is God level. Who am I speaking with?
Sean.
Hi, love Sean. How are you?
First time calling in. This was
yes.
the first time. Yeah. Wow.
What's your comment for tonight? And thank you for calling in.
just wanted to talk on the subject of childhood trauma.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, when we was doing the last part of emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
I had an incident where the person, actually that I had an incident with as a child, had called me, and I thought that I had got to the point that I was actually okay and I had healed from this, but just hearing their voice and the call was that they were coming, to town. It was just a trigger for me, and I think for me, I was traumatized at 15. Also, a victim of sexual abuse. I was sexually abused at gunpoint and became pregnant. So I went through a lot of traumas all at once. I was even honest enough to tell, and it seemed like me telling the truth, it made people in my family angry. I guess that, everything happens in the house, stay in the house. It was just like people was angry and actually no one really did anything. So in turn, that made me angry. I was angry for a very long time. With some of my family members because they didn't do anything. And there's nothing just happened. So that's when you don't trust people. If I'm telling you the truth and I'm a child, I'm the adults are supposed to help me. But actually no one did. And for a very long time, like I said, I stayed angry. I didn't really try to work on myself. But these past 2 years, I just see how being angry has damaged me emotionally, because I don't have, I'm a good person and I try to help people, but I've always put myself last. Sometimes I just be quiet because I've always want to just keep the peace, but I'm the one that actually be hurting. And that's pretty one of my traumas. I have several traumas that I have been through. So healing is a process, but sometimes it's hard to heal when you constantly healing from something. Not saying that you're supposed to stop, but when your life is filled with trauma, it's just kind of hard. I've been watching the podcast since May. I try to actually have a fitness for Sunday so far, and this is very good for me. I mean, I do see therapy. I believe in God. I go to church, so I have a combination of things that I use to try to heal myself. But healing is a process. It's not, and trauma is not just one of the things that you just get over. Because first of all, when you're traumatized by people that you never think you should be hurt by, that just puts it all on a different level. And that's actually just really nervous, just even talking about it. And the trauma, now, I think, I'll speak on my mom. A lot of the trauma in my family has affected my mother, even, I guess, when my mother didn't do anything when I told her, and now it's her being older, it bothers her. And then I'm in the position where I have to reassure her that it's okay, because it's okay that you didn't do anything. But my mother's older. She was born in the 30s, raised in that generation where they didn't do anything. And sometimes people who have not healed from their own trauma can help somebody else when they're going through theirs. So I had to do a lot of soul searching and actually forgive. I had to forgive my mother. Even with my mother, I was real angry because she was not there for me. But for her, I have forgiven her. And like I tell her, I love her, and I don't know what she did or did not do against her. I do not. I wish I could say that for my siblings, I am a sibling, 3 of us. I am the only girl and the baby. And it is hard to say. I kind of was reluctant to share because sometimes when you share stuff, once people hear it, you are judged. It's just true because once you've gone through that or you've been through that. I have a brother that's incarcerated, and he's a person who has committed sexual abuse. Never knew this man. My brothers were best friends. Just never knew that he was capable of doing something like that. It broke my heart. It broke my mother's heart. Stressed it out to the point she had a stroke. And it's just I was judged by something that I didn't even do. I was treated different by something that I didn't even do. My other brother is the person that abused me. So I feel all along, I feel like I'm just, my siblings have been wiped out. We would never be the same because I totally don't trust them, as I should not. Like I said, I've got a lot of things that I've been through, but I feel like I have a story to tell, not to regurgitate, as my brother Diamond says, what has happened, but let somebody know that you can heal from anything. You know, you can heal, but it's a process. Like you said, you have to talk to people. You have to have a variety of resources. But just want to listen. I've been listening to the show. It's very helpful for me. I still finally feel safe enough to talk because I've been listening for a couple of months. But trauma does affect you. It's just not just that simple. And I'm older. I've been through trauma in my childhood. I've been through trauma in my adulthood, but still working towards healing. And that's all I have to say.
Before you leave, I want to thank you for calling in and sharing your story with us. May I ask a question before you go?
Yes, you may.
Yeah. What inspired you to go to therapy?
Actually, my mother finally went to therapy, and she wanted to work on our relationship because of the fact when I needed help or when my situation happened, she didn't do anything, and I wound up going and felt like it was something I needed even when she stopped.
Has therapy changed you all's relationship or helped to change you all's relationship?
I would say therapy, and I would say my relationship with God. I go to church. I believe in God, and I just think a combination of the two. And forgiveness, people realize it's not so much for the other person; it's for yourself. You have to forgive them for what they did or did not do, so that you can be at peace. So yeah, a combination of both.
Okay. What message would you have to someone out there that has not spoken up yet about the trauma that they have been through as a child and even as an adult?
You do have to find a safe place or a safe person. You have to start there. And as you get courage, like seek help. We as Black people, we do not believe in therapy, but therapy is good. So I would say that a safe place, a safe person, seek therapy. You believe in God, you pray. And sometimes even you have to sometimes remove yourself because families are sometimes not always willing to heal. And sometimes you might have to decide, if I'm trying to heal, you might have to kind of distance yourself while you're healing. You know.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm in that position right now, so I totally understand. With that being said, I want to thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the good news is that the narrative that Black folks don't seek therapy is changing.
Yes.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
That took a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm. It took a lot of courage. Took a lot of courage. And I'm glad to see that more of us, because I can't think of a more traumatized community of people than our people. You know,
that took a lot of courage. Thank you so much for that.
I want to add to that.
Go ahead.
On top of pointing out, the young lady called in and having a lot of courage to open up and share that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's understand that we have created a safe platform.
Yeah.
For not just her, for everybody to be able to call in or even comment.
Yeah.
It's definitely a safe place, and I appreciate that everybody is very genuine on this panel. There's no faking, no trying to do it for clout or anything like that. That's very, 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 very important.
Right.
And again, I thank Sean Love for calling in. That's man.
That was beautiful. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. And just the encouraging message that she had for someone who
Most
has
definitely.
not spoke up. Yeah.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
I think we just solidified another fact that it takes courage to heal.
Ooh,
Woo!
okay.
I
Harold.
think
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
solidified
Harold.
Yes. Absolutely.
a brave thing.
Yeah.
Very.
Brave. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Amen. I have no idea who's chiming in. I want to thank
Ernestine.
everyone for
That's Ernestine.
your
Yeah.
comment.
Appreciate you, Mr. Ernestine.
Distance yourself while healing. There is nothing wrong with that. And she said, even if it's family, you still have to take yourself, remove yourself and get with yourself. That's beautiful. Yeah. And that's real.
That is real.
That's real. You can't heal around the same things that broke you.
And sometimes if you're drowning, you got to get out the water.
Yeah.
Don't stay in the water.
I just said that in
The
my
dog paddle.
Get up out of there, right?
I have not.
I say.
Oh my God. Thank you. Oh, my love goes out to the caller, Dortez. Where are you at, Dortez? Call in. I would love to hear from you. We still got one more session, me and that man. I love him. Everything that he has said to me, oh my God. Like, I need to make him my personal therapist. Like, we need to talk once a month just to get updates on how I'm doing. He taught me, what love is to me,
Mm-hmm.
what it means to me. Get a therapist. They will help you sift through all of that stuff that you are carrying. They will help you sift through that bag. Because if you look at it like it's, and I hate to use that word baggage, but they will help you sift through all of that, the emotions, the trauma, and just having that person to sit back and talk to and allowing you to talk because they listen more than they talk. I love it. Hey, Dre.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, as a writer, it helps me to write a lot of my trauma out. I realize it helps others. Sometimes our pain is our purpose.
Yeah, that was Miss Ernestine.
Oh,
Appreciate
wow.
her. Yeah, appreciate her.
Isn't that what we were just talking about? Masterclass.
Well, what we were talking about is pain being the destiny, but the purpose is transcendence. Pain being the destiny, but at some point, uh, like the question that was just posed, when you're overwhelmed with emotions, do you shut down or do you speak up?
Mm,
So, what's your reaction or your response? And the key though, the key is not to get overwhelmed with emotion, because all in all, we are here to self master.
hmm
And to self master is to put emotions in check. Because to get overwhelmed with emotion is to misuse a very powerful force. Misuse a very powerful force. Even in silence, the emotional energy is still radiating outwards. You have to
Facts.
realize that
Facts.
it's still radiating outwards. You
Right.
have to be careful because each one of us are uploading to consciousness. You ever heard of the 100th monkey experiment? Y'all heard of that, right?
No.
So there's this experiment that went on
Hmm.
where they had took this one monkey out for this island of monkeys. They taught it a skill and did not even return it to its environment. And because they taught it that skill, they taught that one monkey that skill, eventually all those other monkeys picked that skill up without returning that monkey to the environment. So there's a consciousness that everything that we do uploads to. This is what they found out, that there is a wireless communication system that happens through emotion and spirit. So we have to remember that even though we hold things in, it doesn't mean that it doesn't get out. Doesn't mean it doesn't get out. So the key is to transcend the emotion so we can stop uploading it to our collective consciousness.
Mm.
You see, because that still is like no matter what. This is why we say we share ideas. There is no new idea. Think of something, think of an idea of a business and you don't move on it. What happens? You see somebody else comes up with it. Somebody else that you never even talked to. You uploaded that to consciousness and somebody say, "Oh, let me take that. I don't know where they came from, but let me take that and let me move on it." You see, tell me that doesn't happen. Of course it happens. I've been guilty of it. I've been like, "Oh man, I should have moved on that. Somebody else got it." You know. So this is why another thing that helps us out with the conditions that can result from these situations is, and we talked about this as well, is to affirm a new paradigm, new programming. And this is where, and nobody's going to affirm this for you. This is where you have to actually take the reins and take control over your experience in life and also what you put out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the affirmation, which we talked about that yesterday, the states of mind that we need to be in order for those things to be fully affirmed, and that's a whole nother science. But one of the affirmations that I take into my own self is this: that that my nature is an unconquerable peace, and therefore nothing and no one in the world can be against me. So, and all experiences come to me to reclaim my promotion of peace. So, this right here, when I affirm that, and then I reaffirm it, even in the midst of a challenging situation, that normally emotion would be the response. I affirm this yet again to firmly set it in, even at that time. And I'm like, okay, so my nature is an unconquerable peace. Then what's happening at this moment? If my peace is being conquered, then I'm not being true to myself. This is how I look at it. So now I got to reestablish and reaffirm that peace by all means. So it doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter if somebody's trying to kill me, somebody's trying to molest me, somebody's talking about my mama or talking about the clothes I got on or what have you. You know, I have to maintain my peace no matter what. And that does not mean being passive. That means just keeping my spirit at peace and putting emotions in check. Once I decide what it is I want to do about it with a clear mind and a clear spirit, and then I think of the outcome, and then I infuse that outcome with the emotion of enjoyment. That's where the emotion comes in. And then the spirit takes that and manifests that outcome. That way you take control over what the outcome is. Instead of the emotion coming before all of that. If the emotion is the cause of you thinking and acting and feeling, then guess what? The spirit still takes that and gonna manifest what you just emoted for. And that's what causes the cycles. We have to break our own cycles. We have to break our own cycles. So this is what that's about. So
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, I just wanted to say that, but I know we 114 in, so go ahead. But thank you for allowing me to express.
I don't know. Absolutely. John, do you have anything you want to add?
We can pivot into within the context of trauma and communication. Um, we can prescribe some resolutions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obvious if you we're going to presume that you've identified, because you trust the feedback of your environment, you've identified that you have an ineffective communication style,
Okay.
and you've also received a big clue that it is influenced by your trauma. So obviously, we know professional help is on the menu.
Absolutely.
But let's just say you're not at that stage yet. You're not at that
Mm,
stage of it's even financially, because we can't forget, getting therapy isn't just free nationwide. We don't have free healthcare like that.
right.
Okay, so we're going to presume that the person is going to try to correct some of these deficiencies. Um, as cheap as possible, but as effective as possible. So through this scope of communication, you realize that either A, you're a passive communicator, you're a passive aggressive communicator, you're an aggressive communicator. You figured out that you're one of those, right? You've also identified that you need to be more assertive. So instead of shutting down when you're confronted emotionally, instead of shutting down, or instead of being more aggressive when you're communicating, you say, all right, I'm going to make a conscious effort to develop a new habit, a new communication style. I'm going to be more assertive. So powerful communication means understanding your needs and learning how to express them in a healthy way, and also in a very clear way, right? But also while valuing the needs and the preferences of others, right? So you become a bit more adaptive when you connect, when you communicate. Um, you have to start with the acknowledgement, right? You have to start with understanding that, understanding and accepting that trauma has had an effect on how you communicate with others. So you're not going to set your sides, your needs aside, but you're also not going to prioritize them over other people, right? Mindfulness. Mindfulness is likely, I can't say any piece is more important than the other, but it's very foundational, right? So the mindfulness opens you up in recognizing, collecting the data in your present experiences, because now you're trying to change something, right? You have this habit of looking at life through this particular lens, which is the lens of your pain, the lens of your trauma. And so now you're trying to rewire that. So in order to do that, you have to be aware of the moment. You cannot continue to look at the moment through the lens of your trauma. So you have to be present. Mindfulness, drawing your attention to the present moment, becoming more aware of how you respond to others. So it's recognizing, oh, I feel this, and this is what I want to do, but I'm going to do something different.
Mm,
And you're continuously saying, I want to do this, but I'm going to do something different. I want to do this, but I'm going to do something different. But again, none of this can even start without the acknowledgement of, this is the undesired behavior. Me stonewalling my partner, undesired behavior. They don't deserve that from me. They don't deserve me to just shut them down because I shut down. They don't deserve that. So you recognize in the moment, I'm doing that thing again. So you recognize what's undesired, and you recognize what's desired, which is communicating, asserting your feelings, right? And again, I do want to make the presumption that we're assuming that you're in a safe environment. So you got to have evidence of being in a safe environment. If you're in a toxic relationship, you trying to assert yourself in a toxic relationship, you're not healing, right? You gotta distance yourself from that. Now, you could probably tolerate that toxic relationship, but if the environment is toxic and it's not trying to redeem itself, it's not trying to correct itself as you are, because you're part of the environment as well, then you're not going to make much progress, right? So back to mindfulness, right? So you have to be consistent with your mindfulness in order to change the undesired behavior. And then, of course, this is about your aspiration, your motivation, and envisioning a healthy dialogue. Um, doesn't matter if it's at the work environment, your relationship with your partner, with your children, right? You got to set the aspiration. This is how I want it to look. What does success look like for you within the scope of communicating effectively while having this trauma? Because you haven't healed the trauma yet, right? You haven't healed the trauma yet, but you still need to operate. You still have to communicate until then. So devising some strategies, simple strategies, one thing at a time, because otherwise you're gonna get overwhelmed. And when you fail, you're just gonna be like, you know what, man, F this. It ain't gonna work. You took on too much of the pie too soon.
Mm-hmm.
So practice one piece at a time. Practice being mindful of yourself, exercising
Yeah.
that self-regulation.
Yeah.
There have been studies out there that indicate that individuals who've experienced trauma, um, they experience some modifications to their brains. It might be a smaller size in the hippocampus or the amygdala, right? So these brain regions, I don't want to get too much in neuroscience, but these brain regions are located around the limbic system, and they govern how we process emotions, also how we store and access our memories, how they're paired, right? The amygdala is more about the alarm system. Oh no, there's danger, 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 threatening situation, threatening situation. Your prefrontal cortex. Um, it assists with your decision making, your self regulation in terms of your emotions, your impulse control, right? So all these regions in the brain, you got to start activating these. And mindfulness allows you to do that. It gives you access to the moment to say, this is what's happening. You may not have to do anything, right? Even though that's the goal is to respond to your environment more effectively, to communicate with your environment, the people more effectively. But you have to just start with not saying anything at all, because what you've been saying before has been hurtful, or your lack of responding has been very destructive, right? So in order to change that behavior, you got to start with mindfulness. What's going on? This is going on. Okay, I know what's going on internally, and I'm also aware of my options. So I can respond to them in this capacity. I can communicate like, hey, right now I cannot talk. I'm just too upset. Can you give me about a day?
Mm.
That becomes better than you looking at them smug or
Response.
oh, that was feedback. Okay. That becomes better than you looking at them smug. That becomes better than you yelling at them. That becomes you better than you getting aroused. You're puffing up. That becomes better than saying sarcastic remarks, biting remarks on the low. You know, so being aware that you're going through this and then developing a different response and then practicing that response every time the situation comes up. That's what this becomes about in terms of asserting yourself in communication. Oliver, you were going to say something?
For me, I
Yes.
just sent you the title to our next show.
Oh, okay.
Check it out in the comments. What do you want?
Oh, okay. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Fair enough.
there.
And yes, King Newborn. Yes. The answer is yes.
Of course he does. Of course he's feeling good tonight. Yes, he
Well,
does.
I always ask. I always
You know,
ask. I always ask.
Brother Diamond, did you see next week's title for the show?
Indeed, I did.
How do you feel about that?
Um, I'm looking to explore it more.
Okay.
that's I think we had spoke on that before. We spoke on that before. So I'm not saying in the show, but I mean among each other we had talked
Yeah.
about it. So
I
I'm
think, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Brother. I'm sorry, King Newborn.
I'm a servant, so I mean,
I love it.
We're gonna go for it.
J Love said, "Do you guys believe in curses?"
What do you mean?
Oh, curses. You mean something being put on you, an energy being put on you outside of yourself? Yeah, that actually happens. Like they say, if you don't stand for something, you can fall for anything.
Anything? Yeah.
Bars.
Mm.
Okay.
Bars.
Yeah.
If you ain't using it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
Falling into somebody else's narrative and not exploring it, not trying to qualify it. That's been on the that's a curse. That's a
Mm.
curse. Any condition that is moving you away from your true destiny, your true purpose, is a curse. So this is absolutely real. And there are people who know how to do that. Now, nobody can put something on you that you won't willfully, attach to. So you have to understand that curses ain't some lady sitting over a cauldron and putting your dirty drawers in it with a frog fingernail. It's it's an entire experience.
Yeah. Where did that question come from, J Love?
I want to add to that, even though she said believe in curses.
Yeah.
I just want to say, and the panel, please, if you feel that I'm in error, please correct me. But if we understand that words we use, period, are considered to be spells.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Due to the nature in which a person vibrates, their frequency, their energy and tone, when they're speaking, it can bring about a curse upon you. Because if they can dial in to where you at emotionally, spiritually, it can be very toxic. And you can find yourself doing some things you didn't even plan on doing. You'd be like, now why did I do that? And that's part of emotional intelligence as well. I mean, that was a couple of episodes ago, but that's real important. I just want to add that part. But J Love, like she said, where did you come with that question though? I like what she said. My new strategy is wrong. I'm curious to know what that's about. My new strategy is wrong.
Great curses with gifts. To be aware is to live.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
So what do you mean? I would have to ask clarity.
I'm still trying to figure out where the curses.
Great curses with gifts, and just so because I can add my own.
Aware is to live.
But I would like to know what she means by
and where is this coming from?
Share.
Come on, J Love, quit teasing us.
Yeah, J Love, just call in.
Why don't you just call? Yeah, call in because that
6966. Yeah, call in.
She got the number. Call in, Miss J Love. I would love to know.
You're in the gym. Step away from the sauna for a second. Call in. Talk to us.
Yeah, I would love to know. Where did that come from? Feel free to call in, J Love. The number is 832-318-6966. And thank you again to Love Shine who called in.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I want to say thank Ernestine.
Yes. I can't see her name. I can't see her name over here.
Well, Master hit me to it if you looked in the private chat, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Expressions that hold them accountable. Again, Miss J Love, feel free to call in. Please call in.
Miss J Love, this is a safe place. Call in.
Yeah, 832-318-6966. I I want to thank everyone for those comments tonight. Everyone
Big facts, big
who
facts.
took our time to watch us tonight, who shared the video tonight. Um, I'm sorry, Love Sean, who called in tonight. I want to thank everyone. Nope, this is sacred. This,
Are you just gonna just do it like that, huh? All right.
okay, all right. Um,
Okay.
Next week's topic is trauma bonding. Do I have any objections? Are we good with this? Or do we want to wait? Or do we want to just get together in the middle of the week?
Yeah, let's get
Mental
together.
health for the win.
Mental health for the win.
I'm serious. I'm serious. So yeah, seek Black therapists from Therapy for Black Girls or Therapy for Black Men. Yes, there's nothing wrong with getting a therapist. Nothing
But he
wrong.
said specifically of Black therapists.
Hmm. Yeah,
Some
you
therapy for
in
Black girls and therapy for Black men.
I can get I understand that. My first therapist was she was of a different ethnic background,
Mm-hmm.
and someone of a different ethnic background who has not grew up um, in the type of environment that I did has a they don't know,
Right.
they can't relate. Um, so having a therapist of the same ethnic background it's better. It really is. Dortez was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Um, it is go for it, go for it. What is she talking about now? No,
Well, we understand that we cannot heal others. Let's get that straight. That we don't heal other people.
what?
That's internal.
Healing, healing comes from you, and the gateway to healing is understanding. So, but you can assist, and your healing can inspire healing in others. But we don't heal other people.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. There is no version that happens like that.
Can I point out something that Love Sean said? She said when she thought she got over it, then heard his voice and it immediately took her back. You're going to have moments like that. We just had this conversation. Some days um, I forgive my abusers, and then I have moments where I'm like, "What the heck was you thinking?" But as long as you choose to continue to choose that healing journey, you're gonna be all right. So you're gonna have moments like that. It's not, oh, I forgive them and then that's it. You may see something that may trigger a memory, allow it to come up, come out, let it go, release it, and move forward.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really all you can do. I still try to keep in mind that my abuser had to been abused. That's why he felt so comfortable doing what he did to me because it was possibly something that was happening to him or had happened to him. So yeah, I don't hold it, but I do have moments where I'll be like, WTF. I never pump up my brand. That is so crazy. By God level. Yes, feel free to stop by my website and grab you one of these hats. This is the royal blue and gold. I have the black and white, the red and gold. Also, what other color? What other color do I have? The black and gold. John is wearing the white and black right now. It looks really good.
I don't want to be left out the conversation. Give me a second.
You know what? There goes the black and gold right there. Oh, I appreciate it.
That's
I
what's
also
up.
have
That's what's up.
snapbacks.
I don't even know if I'm wearing. I just need some gum so I can chew some gum. Every time I chew some gum,
Yeah,
changes your identity.
those are my hats that you can find on my website, www.godlevel1.com. Feel free to check me out, grab you one, be supportive. There's nothing wrong with that. And wear it proudly. Wear it proudly. That being said, John.
Before you hold
Oh,
on, John, before you even say that, real quick, definitely putting you on the spot. God level.
shit. Yes, sir.
What does God level mean?
God level is operating in your highest capacity and beyond. It is not a trend, it is a movement. God level is self actualization. God level is you. God level is me. God level is who we have always been as a people. John.
Checking out my own affairs, knowing that my life is fair. If the shoe just doesn't fit, I'll design another pair. Always got to be prepared like hitchhikers on the road. Blessings always on the way and on time, no delay. With good karma in my life, I ain't even got to pray with my lips. I just really got to stay on the path, get the vibe that the love in me resides. It just needs another home. I just need to let it flow. I'm a student of this life. Every moment is a test. Soul is glowing like the moon, but the sun is in my chest. Melanin is from the earth, friends and family galore. People care about my health. I'm able to give them more of my time, of my will, my resources, and my skills. I am able to be true. I am blessed to know my roots from a seed to a plant, and now a tree. Negativity control kill the weakness in my genes. I got standards, I am free, positive, my energy vibrate at a higher rate through the time and through the space. Blessings might be in disguise, but I know they're on the way. Give a hug, open arms, I accept them with no mistake. See, I'm not defined by money made, but I make it anyway. I express my inner worth, know myself, I know my work is appreciated by the universe. Live in truth, kill the lies with my words, kill a curse, and I always do my best even when I'm at my worst. I am patient, I am kind, I am loving and divine. Many challenges await, but I know that I'll be fine. Arguments I tend to win are the ones I never have. Found some joy inside my smile, extra light inside my laugh. New success in my career, I'm respected by my peers. Affirmations in the morning and the path forever clear, clear. Like those blessings on the way, like my lyrics on the beat, and I got them on repeat. I got rhythm, I got grace. Let me bring another plate. I'm a server of this love. I'm a master of my fate. No erasers, all intended, no mistakes. I'm living good, getting better every day. And my truth is irrefutable. My aura is so beautiful. I use it in the usual way. Got a spirit like the sun. It's renewable, making peace with the past. It just had another funeral. I'm twice blessed. I leave you and the mic blessed. And I'm fresh as a nude sketch. I got the drip, but the beat got the drop like a suplex. Patient with the moves. I ain't rushing like roulette. Thankful I can do more even when I use less, but I'm not useless. That's a good note like a duet. Calm under pressure is the new flex. Thankful for the things I ain't do yet, but it's in the plan of the cosmos. Because love is an investment, not the lotto. And I speak like I swallowed the sun. Manifestation is when I dream it, then believe it till it's done. Life threw me lemons, so I made lemon pie. I do the inner work like my body has a gym inside. The world is my mirror. Gotta always love myself. I know I am not alone. I could always ask for help. It's all about progressing through the stress, and the level up is all about improving, not impressing. People judge me by my heart and not by my mistakes. For that reason, the blessing will be on the way. Bless.
This is God level, things people don't want to talk about. See y'all back here next week.